Usually you're into, come on, dry, grounded. And Chassidus is very abstract, so you would think that it wouldn't be. So therefore, the Tzemach Tzedek added that. And the Tzemach Tzedek was the first Lubavitcher Rebbe to make peace between the Misnagdim and the Chassidim. You know why? Because they had an equal enemy, the Maskilim. And they realized we better pair up with the Chassidim to fight our bigger enemy, the real enemy. The Rebbe Maharash, the fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe, I'm trying to speak a language you understand. Fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe introduced Chassidus to Balabatim, not Torah scholars, regular men that work. The Rebbe Rashab introduced Chassidus to Bachrim, non-married Bachrim. The previous Rebbe introduced Chassidus to children. And the Rebbe introduced Chassidus to women. And the Rebbe also was the first. It's not that they're low, it doesn't mean that they're the lowest. Don't get the idea that it's because I'll tell you the reason. No, I'll give you it's the opposite. Because as we get close to the Geula, who are the ones, the women that will bring the Geula? Who are the Jews that will bring the Geula? Women, it says. So, and also that the women will have superiority over the men when Mashiach comes. That's why by every wedding, every wedding is like a marriage between the Hashem and the Jewish people. The Kala goes around the Chassan, which means he surpasses him. So that's interesting. So it says that a generation, that's the last generation, right before Mashiach comes, which is this generation, we need to highlight the superiority of women. The Rebbe focused on having, first of all, yichidis with women. My sister had yichidis with the Rebbe. The Rebbe asked my father, why does she look so pale? Worried about. He looked at her and he saw she was very pale at that time.
What is pale?
White. White, yeah. Not healthy looking. If you can help translate this, Neshama behind you. She speaks Hebrew but doesn't speak English too well.
Yes, sir.
I want you to understand. I know. With Targim.
Yes.
I'll try to speak slow, although it's not my nature to speak slow. What happened to her? She left. Hannah left. Okay.
So Malka, she from last year, she came to visit. So a lot of the girls are right now.
Okay.
You'll get them back next year.
Next Tuesday, there's no class for me.
Next week and Friday.
Next Friday, okay.
Yeah.
You're going all to the Ohel on Tuesday.
Yeah. So excited. I have a question. 2 seconds.
Yeah, and that was one more last thing. And the Rebbe also was the first Rebbe to have women be considered shluchos. This idea of kinus shluchot started, not even by the Rebbe at the beginning of his becoming a Rebbe, later, much later. It started with kinus shluchim, and then it became shluchot. The Rebbe was telling one thing, the Rebbe was telling a woman, not religious, a feminist. These are the rich people that came, Machni Yisrael, that came to, that would have a yichidus with them one-on-one. And she tells a Rebbe tells her, you have to understand, you have to speak out for women's pride. You're telling me, she tells the Rebbe? She says, yes, I'm telling you. Because some women who are, involved in a feminist group think they need to emulate, to copy the men. That's not women's pride. Women do not need to show that we could also do what men can do. Everyone, has their shlemus, their quality. You don't have to try to copy someone else. That shows that you're inferior if you try to have to copy the men. And whatever the men do, we have to do. It's not fair. Then you're a loser. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of who you are. You don't have to follow, the masculine group of people. So she was like taken aback. Never heard that before. It's very obvious. Femininity does not mean you have to complain about everything that men do. Why can't we do it? Women have something that men don't have. And each one there's nothing, what?
Yeah.
A lot. Quite a bit. I'm not saying either one is superior. Like a heart, what's more important, the heart or the brain? Not that men don't have hearts and women don't have brains. Saying, but the heart is much more soft and delicate and fragile, caring. Really? Without The brain is very, you know what's very bad? If the heart tries to act like the brain tries to act like the heart, then you got trouble.
But if the heart dies, the whole body dies. If the brain dies, the heart.
I know, but the brain is over here, and everything starts from the brain.
Our ability to understand that is that's
Okay, there's a mila in both. And maybe if you're saying the heart is, I know why you're saying that, because you want to vote for the women's rights. No? Okay, one more thing I want to mention. First, the Gemara, we're not going to learn today, another Gemara, about the name of Avraham Avinu's mother, Haman's mother, David HaMelech's mother. And the Gemara gives the names that we don't know. From Chumash, we do not know. From Tanakh, we do not know who their mothers were. And then Shimshon's mother, Shimshon HaGibor, and his sister, which is even a Pella. Shimshon's sister is not even mentioned, and he had a sister. And the Gemara spends about 10 lines telling us who these mothers were. The Gemara asks, who cares? Why do we have to? The Gemara answers, in case you'll have some heretics that will argue, how come we don't know the names of the mothers of such people? We do know the names. They're not written. There's oral tradition, but they're there. What are the names? You know, who knows what Avraham Avinu's mother's name was? What was his father's name? Hannah?
Sarah.
And the mother's name? I don't know. Amasloi, like Aleph Mem Tov, Lamed Aleph Yod, Amat Lo'i, Bas Carnival. Avraham Avinu's grandmother was Carnival. Haman, who cares? Haman's mother, Amasloi, the same name. Bas Urbasi. So the Gemara says, what are the names suggesting? Urbasi sounds like Orev. Orev is a bird. It's a very cruel bird, a crow, a raven. They're cruel. They're dark and they're aggressive birds. And it's a good sign that from an aggressive bird came Haman. Carnival sounds like Korim, Chof Reish Yud Mem, which has to do with sheep, a pure animal. So from the mother of Avram, he was zeichet to have a son like Avram. Not bad, huh? Pretty big schus to have. She must have done something right to have a son like Avram Avinu, the first Jew. Unbelievable. Who was David HaMelech's mother? So if you take a look, I have a word of Gemara here. Bava Basra, 91a. 91a. Who is David HaMelech's mother? By the way, this is the same Gemara is all about Rus. So when it gets close to the Shavuos, I'm going to go through this whole Gemara. It's all about the story with Rus. A very interesting Gemara. David HaMelech's mother is Nitzevet. Nitzevet. I'm sure the chassan you're going to meet, well, maybe doesn't know. You're going to certainly, how should I know? Nitzevet Bas Adael. Kach Shema Shel Imo Shel David HaMelech. And what was the mother of Shimshon? The father was Manoach, story in Tanakh. Does not mention his wife's name. It mentions his wife. His wife. What's her name? Her name was Tzilel Ponit. Tzilel Ponit. And the sister of Shimshon HaGibor, Nashian. Okay, this is 91a, Bava Basra. I'm sure you remember it. Okay. On Tuesday, we had a whole talk, and I want to discuss this, even though it's not about Gemara, about the Rebbe being Mashliach. Don't get any ideas that I am from the camp who do not believe the Rebbe is Mashiach. I'm not from that camp. I don't want to get ideas I'm some kind of who knows what. I'm not from that camp. I'm not discussing at all about whether is or not. That's not the issue. I made a statement on Tuesday from my brother, and it was totally misunderstood. What I said was that the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that Hillel believed that Chizkiyahu HaMelech, who lived how long ago? 120 years before the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash, he accomplished something. He had a role. His army destroyed without even having to do anything. They rested overnight. And the king Sancheriv, Melech Ashur, he's the one that exiled the 10 tribes. This Sancheriv was, after doing that, was defeated, their whole army, overnight. This is the Haftorah of the last day of Pesach. On the last day of Pesach, which is all about Mashiach, we read about the story with Chizkiyahu HaMelech. So Hillel said, Chizkiyahu already did his role. He already did the job of Mashiach. And now we don't need him anymore. Does anyone say the Rebbe completed his role? He brought Mashiach already? Even if you say he is Mashiach, let's say there's no question about it. I'm not arguing about that. Yes, he will be, but did the Rebbe complete his role and liberate the Jewish people from Golos? Of course not. No one says that. The craziest of the crazies don't even say that. There are some crazy people. No, but they don't say that. No one says that. You can't.
Don't say what?
Israel already liberated the Jewish people. He brought Mashiach.
But there are people that say that Beulah is a prophet, and that when the Rebbe became Rebbe, he started the process.
Oh, the Rebbe himself said clearly. The Rebbe himself said numerous times. I heard it from the Rebbe. Anyone who says that the coming of Mashiach has already started, called Aschal to the Geula, causes Mashiach to be delayed. God forbid to say that when the Jewish people, took over in 1948, that was, many said that's the Zionist Shita. That was the Aschal to the Geula. In fact, let me tell you something. My brother also was involved with this. He gives a lecture to the SUNY College in Buffalo, the college students. Many of them are not Jewish, but many were Jewish. And he had a multiple choice. He was teaching them, it was not long after only several years, 7, 8 years after the 6-Day War. In 1967, the 6-Day War. I was around then. I'm old enough to be around then. I was in school. And it was unbelievable what happened. Miracles, crazy miracles happened. Even the not religious Jews started pouring their hearts out, the Kosel HaMaravi, crying. Even those that claimed they're atheists lost their atheism. They began to believe in God. So it was a big thing. What is the lesson for us? A, B, multiple choice. A, B, C, D. A, Aschal to the Geula. It's the beginning of Mashiach. Mashiach coming, started already. The Geula has already began. There's stages, but the Geula has began. That's what many said. Who said this? The Mizrahi, the Zionists said that. The second shita is that it's Maisis Satan, because all the soldiers are not religious. If they're not religious, then they're Apikursim. If they're Apikursim, they're heretics. Hashem cannot make miracles through bad Jews, through Poshe Yisrael, Satmar. Yeah, that's how crazy they were. So A and B. C, the lo aschal to the Geula, l'hagish the Maisis Satan, chas v'shalom. What is it? It's the end of Govos, towards the end, where Hashem is trying to wake us up. Wake up, Yidden, from your dreams of Golos. I'll give you a lollipop. I'll give you a little foretaste of the Geula. I'll make some miracles. Wake up! I want to bring the Geula. In fact, I never referred to it as the shofar of Mashiach, the shofar before Mashiach. Wake up, so I can bring Mashiach. There's a very big wake. A lot of Jews became frum. Tremendous influx of it's tremendous. That was C. D, none of our business. We got to sit and continue learning Torah. What happens in the world should not have any effect on us one way or another. It's meaningless. Litvish. A lot of, not all, but some of the Litvish believe in that. So my brother asked, which one is Chabad? A, B, C, D. Oh, Rabbi, C, of course. The only thing that sounds reasonable is C. A sounds a little crazy. This is the goal. This is the unfolding. We're told Mashiach comes, it'll be peace in the world. There's peace in the world right now. I mean, many soldiers have been killed. It was a great miracle, but we lost some soldiers. That's Mashiach. This is Golos. But in the dark end of Golos, things happen. You said unfolding last Tuesday. Unfolding? No, unfolding. Not the Geula is unfolding. Before the Geula coming, the things that happen in the end of Golos that bring Mashiach, bring the Geula, but the Geula hasn't started yet. Geula only starts when we have Kibbutz Goliot and Binyan Bayis HaShlishi. Until then, we're in the darkest, the quadruple fold, the level of darkness, where the world it's crazy dark. It's so dark you can touch it with your hand, you can feel it. It's mamoshes. It's crazy. Samim choshech leor, choshech ze or, ve'or ze choshech. Nachon ze lo nachon, lo nachon ze nachon. So the unfolding, if you ever heard from the other rabbis, I don't know, or maybe Mrs. Nemni, giving you a Mashiach shir, I'm sure she didn't mean that the Geula started already. What she meant is that there are things that are happening in Golas that are bringing the Geula. I hope she didn't say that. I'm not going to argue, but I'm telling you right now, it's heresy to believe that the Geula started. The Rambam writes clearly that the Geula starts, again, it could be semantics. That which brings the Geula has started. Yes, there are things that Mashiach is doing before Gimel Tammuz, and certainly now after Gimel Tammuz. The Rebbe is making things happen in the world, getting Hashem to where the preparations for Geula are unfolding. But the actual Geula starts, we have the Beis Hamikdash. No one can say we have the Beis Hamikdash now. Yes, there's 770. The Rebbe talks about 770 being a me'ain of the Beis Hamikdash. But that's when the Rambam writes that the Geula starts when we have them. And I could show you a Sikha, again, black and white. The Rebbe says clearly that the Haschalta, the Geula, is only when you have the Binyan Bayis HaShlishi. That has not yet happened. It could happen in the middle of the shir right here. And I won't be shocked. Because the Rebbe in the middle of Fabrengen said, as we're talking, before Mincha, Mashiach can come. Even though the Gemara says in Sefta Erevin that Mashiach cannot come on a Shabbos, don't worry about it. Let him come, and we'll ask the question to Eliyahu Hanavi, how come he came on Shabbos when the Gemara says he can't come on Shabbos? Eliyahu Hanavi will answer a lot of questions. That would be one of the questions he'll answer. He'll answer that question too. But the Rebbe never allowed any limitation for Mashiach. Yes.
Amazing. I have an actual question you might not like.
You what?
Might not like my question.
What's the chances of me liking or not? What's the chances?
The other name,
Right.
right? So they're saying that for the Rebbe, and I think everyone that's read a whole article about how
Right.
what they're saying is that they want the Rebbe's revival to be here and bring Mashiach and whatever. I have no problem with people and myself saying he's going to be Mashiach.
Right.
I maybe have a problem with people saying he is Mashiach, meaning that Mashiach is here, meaning that Mashiach has started Gula, which you just said yourself is heresy. But
Not the Not that the Geula is here, but that he's paving the way for the Geula.
But that until the third basement is
Right.
built, there is no final Mashiach. So we can't even say that.
You understand? But you understand why the question you asked with Chizkiyahu is not a question, based on what I'm saying. Chizkiyahu Hanavi, the Gemara says, did his role. He did something, and he was Yaitza being Mashiach. Not a question of knowing who the person is. He already fulfilled his role, his job of being Mashiach. No one says that Rebbe fulfilled his role, even those that, that's all.
Right, so my question is, how then are we allowed to sing Yochli and the name about the Rebbe, A, after Gimel Tammuz?
Why
and
not? That's
B,
on the contrary. It makes more sense after than before. Yechi means let him live. Let Mashiach aspect in him revive. Let it be resurrected. Let him be revealed as the one who will redeem us.
how are we
Before he was here, physically here.
one of my rabbis in Chabad, not Chabad, so when I was doing Chabad, they told me like, what they asked me more like generically, like rhetorical, how is it that Chabad in 770 is allowed to say Yochli and the name in the middle of davening?
No, they don't say the middle of davening, at the end of davening, after davening's over. I'm not one of those that says it 55, every 5 minutes. But they do say it after davening. After laning, they say it, but after davening, but not in the middle of davening. Never. I don't know where you got this from. After davening, it said. After every tefillah, Shachris, Mincha, and Meyer, they scream out Yechi. Before Mincha, but not during the Mincha, before and after.
They
Right?
also say it even before they sing Altira, they sing it, and then they say Altira, and then they sing.
After everything's over, after the last Kaddish, that's when they say it.
What?
He's picking on. I'm there every day.
Yeah.
They sing it only after the last Kaddish. They don't sing it before Altira. I don't know where you got this from. No, after, I'm there every day. You don't even,
But also in the women, we can hear it.
after the end, it's about the end, very end.
Right.
Maybe one day someone made a mistake and started singing, but no, after the end.
And you're saying it's okay to stay with the other name because,
Well, no, it's after davening. Not part of the davening.
but you're saying long live.
So Well, not- when David HaMelech was on his deathbed, already giving over, it says, Yechi Adoni HaMelech L'Olam. The Haftorah, Parshat Chayesora, said, Yechi Adoni HaMelech L'Olam, and he's dying. They weren't trying to give him life. They know he's dying. He's finished. He's over. And in fact, they were appointing Shlomo HaMelech to be the next Nasi, to be the next leader. And yet it said at the very last pasuk, Yechi Adoni HaMelech L'Olam. So obviously it means that his leadership, what he stands for, his legacy, whatever he stands for, should live forever. Not necessarily, on the contrary, it means it fits even more after than before, to some degree. I don't see the question.
I'm saying it goes back to the same question as before.
No, in
How
fact,
can you say he is Mashiach? Mashiach has not yet built.
he is the one that will be. He is. In other words,
Then how can we go and reject every single possibility?
because I'll tell you how. Even though the Rambam writes that until he builds a Beis Hamikdash, he's not Mashiach Vadai, right? But doesn't mean that there's no other way where you can establish that he is. What happens? Okay, if the Rebbe, what the subject of week? It's 2 plus 2 plus 2. Did I say 6?
Yeah, well.
I said 2. I didn't mention the word 6, right? I just said 2 plus 2 plus 2. It equals 6. Okay. The Rebbe said that the Nasi of the generation is the Mashiach of the generation. That he said 1,000,000 times. Every Nasi of Chabad, which clearly happened to be the Nasi of the generation, was Mashiach of that generation. That's what the Rebbe said. I mean, you could, if you want to argue with the Rebbe, it's not hey, okay. But that no Chabad Chassid will disagree with this. Everyone knows. The Rebbe said numerous times that the Nasi Hador is Mashiach Shabador. If the door would have been Zakai, we would have merited, he would have come. That person would have materialized, and would have been Mashiach. Number 2, the Rebbe said that's 2. Number 2, the Rebbe said that this generation, the generation of the Rebbe, is the last generation of Golos and the first generation of Geula. There is no Nasi in between.
Our generation is the first generation of Gola.
Yeah, the last generation of Golos, he said he referred to this generation. He wasn't saying it as a tefillah, as a prayer. He was saying as a fact that this is the last generation because there's no new Nasi. They haven't made it very clear. There's not going to be another Nasi, another Chabad leader. The last generation, the last leader will be the first leader. The Nasi Hadar is Mashiach Shabador. There is no other door. So add up together. If there's no other generation, and the last generation of Chabad happens to be, well, they referred to the previous Rebbe always, but that's because everything he did was previous Rebbe. You know, everything he did, he referred to the previous Rebbe. In fact, he said at the beginning when he became Nasi, the Friedrich Rebbe is in me, Nishmosai bi. The difference is, he mentioned some differences in the body. There's differences. The Rebbe once said about the previous Rebbe that he was outwardly always gracious, but very strict deep down inside. And I am the opposite. I am tough. I have an outside, very tough on the outside. I'm very stern. I'm sorry, I'm very soft on the inside. But it's one Rebbe. Anyways, what I'm saying is if the Rebbe said the Nasi Hadar is Mashiach Shabadar, and that this generation is the generation of Mashiach, the last of Golos, first of Mashiach, then who is Mashiach? Just by Rebbe doesn't have to say, by virtue of those statements, who is Mashiach? And then what? Well, Gimel Talmud doesn't stop. The Rambam never said Gimel that if Mashiach passes away. Say what? There is no other generation.
But how is it this generation?
Because. Oh, really? Look how many shluchim are going out there. How many shluchim would go out for someone to pass on? You tell it when people hear, you ask a chassid of a place, Belz or Satmar, would you go to Timbuktu or to who knows where? Without there's no mikveh there, there's no school there. And would you go there if your Rebbe told you? No, I would tell him, thank you, but no thank you. That's what I would tell him. Your Rebbe's alive. And our Rebbe that you claim is no longer here, doesn't exist anymore, gone, he's past history. Look how many shluchim there are, 5,000 6,000 shluchim, much more after Gimel Tammuz, way more than before. And it's tripled, quadrupled in the last 30 years.
When the Rebbe was physically
Zare B'chaim, Afu B'chaim, that's what it means. And If his children are alive and full force into it, you feel his presence, which we do. People are very careful. Look, are careful. They feel that if they do something on shlichus, that's not what the Rebbe wants. But the Rebbe's not here anymore. What are you scared of? They feel his presence, not bodily, physically with the body, but people feel his presence. More than a live Rebbe, many live Rebbes. Rebbe Lach. The Rebbe is sent. Who walks to Williams? Who walks to Borough Park when it's pouring rain or it's extremely hot? 5 miles each way because of the Rebbe's camp, because there's a Rebbe who told us to do it every year. Why do we do that? Thousands of people march to Borough Park. Not just one small thing. That's relatively easy. But the shluchim go all over. They have no chinuch with their kids, and they're all alone. They start from scratch. How do they do that? Mesiras Nefesh isn't easy if the person who wants it shlichus is no longer here. So the Rebbe is leading without physically being able to be seen. I mean, there's so many other things that the Rebbe is that are happening as a result, and there are ways of communicating with the Rebbe, not directly, physically, via the oil. There are miracles that happen in the oil, galore, and via Igros Kodesh. I have my own personal story I told last week.
Right, so, Igor.
Yeah. We're not going to learn today. Okay.
Isn't there a halacha that says that you cannot or should not live with? I don't want to say the word.
No, Dr. Mason. So how do you go to the oil bed? You could ask. Everyone goes.
So it's not an issue when you go to a grave because you're going to a grave. You're speaking. Basically, you're speaking to yourself.
Open a safer and has a source even in non-Chabad sources.
Yeah. People used to open Torah scrolls and things like that.
That's not necessarily not necessarily Torah scrolls. Any teaching, their own svarim, what they had. Rebbe's letters.
Yeah, but okay, my very Litvish rabbi said that when you open Igris, the only way to do it properly, and that's what he said. The only way to do it properly is to say, I'm choosing this book because I connect to it. But really, my answer is coming from Hashem.
Okay, fine. I'm not arguing with that.
From the Rebbe, so we're not directly hearing.
Right. Okay, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. I don't know. I'm not sure how it works. These things are not clear how they work. But again, let's say Hashem is doing it, but he's doing it through the Rebbe. It's true with Moshe Rabbeinu also. Moshe, on the contrary, the greater you are, the more of a conduit you are. You're less there. You reflect Hashem so much, but it's not as if you're not there at all. Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned in the Haggadah at all, except once. Vayaminu b'Hashem u'b'Moshe Avdoi. The only time he's mentioned is by him being, he is the Eved of Hashem. And Eved means I'm not here. I belong to my master. And the Mechilta says, the Medrash says, if you fight against Moshe, you're fighting against Hashem. If you don't believe in Moshe, you don't believe in God.
Whoever Mashiach is comes from the same neshama source in the treasury as Moshe Rabbeinu.
I've never heard that. There is a connection, but I've never heard that.
Because it says that the Alter Rebbe was the first of that source to come down. That's why when the
Where did you hear this from?
wasn't
No,
from Rabbi Medatsky's share with it online.
Okay.
And he said that basically the Baal Shem Tov knew it was a new soul coming down, completely new,
Right.
never before from that soul. And that's why he even said Shachiyanu when the soul came down,
Right.
and when he found out.
Okay, what does that do with Mashiach?
Right, so if Mashiach is, I don't want to say the incarnation, but has aspects of the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu, how is that possible if the Alter Rebbe, which we would say be the Mashiach of his generation, how does that work?
Souls are, we're not experts in souls. It's a very hard subject. When it comes to soul, we should basically say we don't understand how the mechanism works. It would seem like all the Chabad Rebbeim were special that they were in Shamas of Atzilus, that the Rebbe made it very clear. All the Chabad Rebbeim were, but I also believe the Rebbe said once that all the Chabad Rebbeim were also souls with a different category called Neshamas Chadashos, souls that were never here, not every souls that were not part of what Marisha and a different category altogether. And because in order to be able to bring Mashiach, he needs, or for the person to be Mashiach, you need to have a transcendent of anything of the past. If you were part of Adam Rishon, then you're part of a past. Mashiach is something of the future. You have to be in a different category altogether. I believe all the Chabad Rebbeim had that. And if anyone's, I'm sure the whole, even the ones that really believe the Rebbe is special, but not like the Baal Shem Tov. He's not as great as the Baal Shem Tov. And the answer is just the opposite. The Rebbe said every Rebbe has whatever his predecessor have, plus his own greatness. So the Rebbe has all the Rebbeim within him. You know, there's a story with Rabbi Mentlik. You never heard of Rabbi Mentlik, did you? Rabbi Mentlik is the one who used to pour the Rebbe. The Rebbe was sitting, he used to pour the Rebbe the wine in the Rebbe's cup. And then he would move the cup like this. The Rebbe would take the cup in a second, like that. This man stood like a statue. When the Rebbe was going this, the whole plate was jumping up and down, 3,000 people, he would stand like this. He would not move. Like that. There was one for Brengen, and Tafshin Yud Aleph. First Purim, the Rebbe became Rebbe. The Rebbe started talking down on himself. I'm a Rebbe. Oh, I really respect the older Hasidim who are not complaining after seeing a real Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, and now look who's here. And it reminds me of Rebbe said of when the second Beis Hamikdash was built, the young people were very happy, but the old people were not so happy. They remember the first Beis Hamikdash. This is a Beis Hamikdash. It's missing 5 things. So likewise, the Rebbe compared to himself like a second Beis Hamikdash versus the Friedrich Rebbe. And he was saying that he was putting himself down. And Rabbi Mentlik, who was like a statue, couldn't tolerate this. And he used to speak very, very slow, abnormally slow. And he would say, it's clearly not that way, what you're saying. You're not right. And it's one shalshelis. All the Chabad Rebbeim are one chain. And I want to say now l'chaim to the Alter Rebbe. And the Rebbe smiled and gave him l'chaim and said l'chaim thing. The Rebbe poured from his cup, I think, to his cup, said l'chaim. So he referred to the Alter Rebbe as the Alter Rebbe at that Fabrengen. That was the first Purim Tafshin, and then first Purim after the Rebbe accepted his Messias. Yes. What's the one?
No, it's not funny. So if we're the Dor HaShvi, which is the last generation, and the Rebbe said that we're the generation of Geula, what's wrong with saying that the Geula is unfolding, if that's what's happening?
Because he said the last generation of Golut. He didn't say
and the first generation.
It will be the first generation of Golut. He didn't say it is. It will be the first generation of Golut. That's what he said.
That it will be?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not going to put it in a far future thing. The Geula, again, unfolding is a word that can be very easily, it's super semantics, can easily mean 2 things. It can mean it started already and it's unfolding from beginning to end, or what has to happen to bring the Geula is unfolding. Things are going on in the world right now where you see it's on its way to start, on its way to begin. Not, it has begun, it's over already, Golos is over, and now because if you say the Golos has started, it means Golos is over. Is Golos over right now? Look outside right now. Looks like the Golos is over. Look where the mayor is here. This is Golos is over. Our Golos is finished.
Coming to an end.
Coming to an end, I agree. It's coming to an end, but it hasn't ended yet. Coming to an end.
I don't know.
I mean, you should be bothered by saying that we already are liberated, and liberation has stages. God forbid. How could you say anything like that? It's misunderstood. Whoever said that, it's misunderstood. The Rebbe's chiddush was that Mashiach is already doing things. That's something new. Parsha Mishpatim, he said, Monday, next week's Parsha, that Mashiach is already starting the process of causing it to unfold, which wasn't the case years ago. The avodah of Birudim is over. The avodah of refining the world that's needed to bring Mashiach is gone. Finished. We finished that job already. Nothing more to do, except to receive. In other words, to be Mashiach oriented and to receive his coming, meaning to be ready for the coming. You have a guest speaker who's about to speak. he's behind the curtain and no one's interested. Everyone's talking, and giggling and talking, and everyone's finding, making jokes. They don't seem to be interested in the fact that the speaker is curtains are about to open. They should be like waiting and acting excited. So we're supposed to become Mashiach oriented, meaning being excited about Geula now and connecting everything you do with Geula. What I'm going to do right now, will that bring Mashiach closer, or maybe the other way around? I'm saying that sometimes you will want to do something that's so kosher. So when a person is living Mashiach, you live with the understanding that everything, every part of my life, every facet of my life has to be permeated with living the same way you would live when Mashiach comes. How are you going to feel when Mashiach comes? Are you going to feel the same way you feel now? It's hard. That's the avodah of Zman. This is the avodah at the end of Zman goals. Okay, so we didn't learn any Gemara today. Huh?
And if we're on the topic, if I can ask.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me what the yellow flags are? I don't know who to ask, so.
You're asking one person.
I don't understand.
I'm not into that. I'm not into that.
They don't use the yellow flags or the pins. I understand.
Not everything you see is 100% halakha in relation to C9. Ask Rabbi Jeski, he'll give you a better explanation than I can. I don't think giving out dollars, I think that's crazy. On Sunday, giving out dollars, I think it's cultish, it's crazy. A lot of things they do that are crazy.
Can I ask, why aren't those Bachram told that that's a little bit?
They don't listen. They don't.
Are you, I've never seen anybody telling them.
You get kids to telling them. They're not able to, they're not listening. Okay. No, I
Nobody's
mean,
like
there is,
in there, you
the
should-
idea of making a shvil, I relate to that. I'm not saying you have to, but I can understand as long as they don't tell any, as long as they don't hit anybody, goes into the making of the shvil, the Rebbe, that's fine. You want to feel the Rebbe's presence. You feel it by making an actual how it was when the Rebbe was actually here physically. That's fine. That's not crazy. But to go ahead and say the Rebbe's giving out dollars right now. He's here. I mean, how do you know where the Rebbe is? You want to have a feeling, a kesher by feeling the presence, but just like when the Rebbe was here, when they were like Kriyas Yamsuf. I remember the Rebbe walked by. You want to relive that experience. I understand that. That I understand.
Isn't it the same with the shvil? Like, how do you know what the Rebbe is doing?
We're not saying the Rebbe's walking through, but we want to feel. They're saying that that's crazy, but I understand you want to just do that, but you want to reawaken that feeling we had when the Rebbe actually walked through. It's my favorite person. I can understand that. That's not a bad thing. There's sources for that. Okay, that's the end of this today's week.
So much. Thank you. Next, I know I answered this question. I really didn't.
I don't know if I answered it really, but I didn't answer all the questions.
Thank you.
I guess we did a few lines of Gemara outside, so but remember, this generation is a generation, feminine generation.
Answer one question.
Then we'll leave out the men. They can have their questions unanswered.
Thank you. Very informative.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm not
I know.
what those who believe you have to, not to say you hear things like that. Not one of those.
Right.
No, I'm saying I'm not one of those. In fact, I was fired from a job because I was into.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Where?
You are do not see that.
I'm not, God forbid, against saying it.
Don't say it.
I do say it. But I'm fiercely against those that are against. I'm more against those that are against than I am for. I can't tolerate the idea of fighting against it. That bothers me.
Why are people against it?
You have to ask them.
I can't.
They're afraid that might turn off people. You know the story I'll tell you a story. The only ones that get turned off are themselves. There's a story with a guy who had a soft heart and he actually won the lottery, and we're afraid if he finds out that he became a multimillionaire, he'll die from a heart attack from too good news. They had a whole discussion. How are we going to break it to him? The guy is, when he finds out that he won the lottery, it's going to be very scary. Enough. The shock. Too much. So they decided we'll get a psychologist who knows how to. And psychologists broke it to him by saying it like this. He didn't break it to him. He said, like, what would happen if I'm just asking theoretically, what would happen if you would win the lottery? What would you do with your money?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he said, I would give half the money to you. Guess what happened? The psychologist fainted and passed out. The guy didn't, in other words, you're so worried about how the world's going to react. The only one who really can't tolerate it is you yourself. You don't believe the world can take it, and that's why you feel threatened by it.
But the Rebbe felt.
At one point, the same Rebbe who said one thing and allowed people to sing openly in front of him, and Rebbe was saying something with his mouth.
He started like
So
getting unwell, but he stopped.
I think Rebbe, his mind wasn't working. You want to believe? Talk about later. Well, we're past that time now. I mean, Rebbe was against being Rebbe also. You're gonna say, well, since we begin being Rebbe, maybe.
Yeah. Thank you. And then, thank you. Thank you, where you listening about it. There's little classrooms for them. This was so you can like, you can observe. This is you guys in our hallway. It can be a learning. No. Yeah. This is my classroom, that's fun. That was Rabbi Greenberg. Was Gemara.
We did not talk about Gemara. It feels like it's like a fun place to teach, because like, oh my god, I just get like completely distracted by interesting things. Yes,
No?
exactly. Oh, that was so rude. I just got up. But the class was over at
Kind of ended things.
what?
I kind of ended.
Yeah,
things.
you just got up. No, but it was over 5 minutes ago. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Right?
Yeah. It was not my. Songs keep falling down and.
Oh, I've never been here. This is really exciting.
Yeah, I feel like this is a special opportunity for me.
By the way, I just want you to know.
You're no, like, there's no doubt. I'm just telling you, I just love that he answered my question, because I have a lot of like problems with myself on things that I believe, and until I'm certain of them, I don't want to outwardly believe them because I'm scared. He
Okay.
answered a lot. I really,
Yeah, that was.
so I don't want you thinking that was like a Miss Nagden versus Miss.
I don't care.
I think you do actually.
I really
To be honest with you, I think you do.
I really don't.
You care a
I'm
lot
just,
more than-
I'm just curious also.
I think you wasted his inheritance. Just saying.
Okay. You care.
Yeah, we just had a. Last about. Well. That was that go. Any questions about? About the ship? Yeah.
Good question.
Yes, but. Can I help you carry anything? No, I think I'm fine.
Was a great challenge.
Was there anything?
Hello, hi, what's your name?
Auntie.
Auntie, are you a friend of Connor's?
Yes.
Nice.
He's a friend of mine. Laurel, I'm with him.
You came here?
No. I'm just like a little like me.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
what's your
good.
name?
Ariella Melancholy.
Don't worry. Melvin? Oh,
Melancholy.
Melvin.
Yeah.
Melvin.
Yes, everyone does.
I never heard of. No.
Yeah. I thought I was original and then Googled myself and said. Wow,
Not
really
really.
complicated. Where are you from?
You're here.
Oh,
You went, you need to answer that for us.
nice. It sounds like a blast.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
I would say the blast. For me,
kind
it's
of
like, blast. It's a very like a boring place, but I like it.
Nice. How do you guys know each other?
From, oh, we were on a teaching certain Israel.
Oh,
You were, like, on what year? 2022. 2022 and 2023. Yeah.
right.
So,
I'm from Philly, so more local.
yeah.
Okay.
I was got it.
How long are you here for?
Look at me. Nice to meet you. Good job. Bye, Ariella. Okay. Let's go. I could not.
Oh, yeah.
So this is doing a most of this now.